plant-based. If you just type that into Facebook, it'll come up. Anyway, I spoke to Vanessa just before the show and I said, welcome. How are you?
I'm brilliant, thank you. How are you?
Excellent. You see, you would be brilliant because you're all into the nutrition, aren't you? And I've been hearing that your gut's your second brain for about 5 years now, and it's finally sinking in.
Yes, it does take a while, doesn't it? Because we hear a lot about gut health, but often it's not broken down for us into, well, why does this matter? And why does what I eat have a difference for my gut? But our good gut bacteria feed off fiber, and fibers in plants. So the more we're feeding it this fiber and a diversity of fiber, the better our gut health is going to be. And that helps everything from our energy, immune system, hormones, weight, mental health. It's wonderful.
Yeah, you've totally summed it up there. But I mean, still, we punish ourselves, don't we? We don't put the right stuff in. I mean, I know you and I are going to talk about veganism or plant-based eating. And the reason we're chatting is because we've just had a month where a lot of people who aren't vegans try it, like Veganuary we're talking about, and it's just finished. What exactly do you do, first of all?
What do I do? So I'm a plant-based health coach, and I help people get rid of fatigue, improve productivity, get a healthy weight, get them glowing with vitality by eating the most delicious, filling and satisfying plant-based food. But whether you want to be fully plant-based or not, and I think that's a really important message, that we just want to be getting more of these plants into our body, and we don't have to do this 100% thing.
Right, okay, so it's not necessarily always about what we should leave out, but it's also about making sure we put the right stuff in.
Yeah, it is a mix of the two, obviously, to get the benefits. But I think sometimes people get a bit intimidated and they think, actually, they're just being asked to take out a ton of things.
Yeah.
And the biggest thing you can look at, so you can cut down on lots of things, and that's really going to help prevent diseases, get your gut health better, help your weight, all of those sorts of things. But the main thing is actually, what is the massive food I'm putting into my body that's going to give me the nutrients, the great gut health, fill me up, make me satisfied? And that's the biggest bit everyone needs to look at. But sometimes we get a little bit too focused on, oh, goodness, I now can't have all these things.
Yeah, it's hard, isn't it? Why do we find it so difficult to, I guess, do the best for ourselves? Is it because food has been sort of designed to tempt us, I suppose?
Yeah, I think it's a great point. And there's lots of things here. I think one of them is we're not actually taught in school what great nutrition is. So I find I'm coaching people, sometimes on things that might seem simple, but actually they're not. Like, well, what does a balanced plate of food look like? Why am I craving this food at 10 p.m.? All of these issues come up because we're not really taught. We're taught, a few food groups. We're not really taught how to cook. We're not really taught what's good for us because it says healthy on the front of so many packets of food, when actually that food is not healthy or helpful.
That it's really difficult, and I guess that's where you come in, because you've got the knowledge, you've done the research, because a lot of people don't have the time or the inclination to actually investigate. I hear so often from people that they just have to grab food on the run, but it is still possible to eat healthily if you've got the right information.
That it's so true. And it's also the importance you put to it. And we have a bit of a false economy of time, because people might say, I don't have time to look after myself. But the fact is, if you don't, you're going to be getting sick more often. You're not going to live as long. That's going to cut your time in itself. So really, we do need to put in a bit of time up front, but there are a lot more tips and tricks than people really know about, and ways we can very easily stay healthy even when we are on the go. It doesn't have to be a massive sacrifice or being chained to the kitchen.
Yeah, right, okay. We're going to get some tips off you in a minute, if that's all right, some specifics.
Absolutely.
But what was your feeling about this year's Veganuary? Because it was something I'd never heard of 10 years ago, but it seems to me that every second person I spoke to was doing either dry January or Veganuary, trying this. And I find that quite refreshing, actually, that people... when I turned vegetarian when I was at school, my mum and everybody in her generation rolled their eyes, whereas now, not the same. People quite seem to celebrate it. So there's been a shift.
Yeah, there's been a huge shift. And I think it's a mix, isn't it? There's okay, it's more mainstream now. There's more solidarity, more people, whatever it is, not going to the pub and going to the plant-based restaurants or choosing the plant-based option. But it's also become so much more accessible. So lots of restaurants have stepped up their game and have got brilliant vegan and plant-based options. And also the knowledge is there more. So previously, and me included, I didn't really understand 8 years ago exactly why people were going vegan or plant-based or vegetarian or anything like that. And now the knowledge is so different. We know that animal products are a huge contributor to climate change and deforestation. So people are really wanting to cut back on that. And people are also realizing the benefits to their health are just huge when we either eliminate or cut down on certain products, but when we get more of the things in that are so good for us, people are looking for those benefits, and they are also doing it not just for the animals and the planet. They no longer see it as a sacrifice. Right, I'm going to sacrifice myself for these benefits to the wider world. People are realizing, hey, actually I'm going to be more healthy, and actually this is something that can be fun, delicious, filling, and something they might want to continue as well.
Right. Okay. So what would you say to people who don't know much about it and that, are thinking of potentially trying a plant-based lifestyle? What's what are the biggest couple of reasons for you?
Yeah, so the biggest reasons would be, well, I think there are three. There are three top ones that a lot of people talk about and that are very important. So the first one a lot of people might think of could be animal welfare. So when we eat plants, we're not killing animals, and that is really important for people, or they really want to cut down on the number of animals being killed, because we actually kill about 80 billion land animals a year because of what we're consuming. So it's a huge amount. And sometimes that scale is not possible for people to understand. And when they hear that, they go, actually, I want to do something to cut down on
It's
that.
quite sickening,
And
isn't it, really, when you say it like that?
it is huge, millions a day. And that is very sad, and it is very hidden from us. It's very hidden from us. And I think more and more people are understanding what goes on. You can look up online some of the details of that. I won't go into them, but that makes people look at it and say, actually, do you know what, I'm going to give this a go. And then related to this, hopefully helps with scale. This, if you think about this 80 billion land animals a year that we eat, they need to be fed and watered. So we need to grow a load of crops to feed to them. This is extremely inefficient. It takes huge amounts of land, pesticides, all of those things that are polluting our waters. This is a huge reason that people are going, oh, actually, I better cut down because the environment's really suffering because of this number of beings that we're having to feed and water. So that's a huge part of the environmental side that people might be looking at. And then health is huge. This is not just about the animals and the planet. People are really finding when they eat more whole food, so this is your fruits, your vegetables, your beans, your tofu, all of that sort of thing, their health is incredible. Their energy levels, they're feeding their gut, they're getting rid of IBS, they're balancing their hormones. Lots of people realizing that actually they can have a brilliant menopause when they are plant-based or mostly plant-based, or getting more of these items into their diet. And I've made it maybe sound like you're going to sit there eating beans and veggies, but this is everything from your chickpea curries. It can include your treats like cookies, cakes, and pizza, not for all the time, but those are still available. You can eat any kind of cuisine. You can have beautiful burgers with guacamole and sweet potato chips. It is not boring at all. It is filling and satisfying, but also gives you all these wonderful benefits and prevention of disease. And also, makes you look younger and glowing as well, just in case people need another reason to do it.
Right, well, she said she was going to give us three main reasons, and there they are. Vanessa Sturman from Energize and Thrive Plant-Based. Look her up on Instagram, or maybe join the community How to Go Plant-Based on Facebook. I told you she was enthusiastic and quite infectious, actually, with her ideas and concepts. I'm already thinking, ooh, It's worth a try, isn't it? Especially when you've got someone like Vanessa who you can ask stuff about. Anyway, are going to ask lots more. We've got her for another half an hour, so more to come. Pen and paper at the ready, please. Plant-based diets, veganism, that sort of thing. We talked a bit about Veganuary last month, and now we're looking at what to do moving forward. So we've got Vanessa Sturman from Energize and Thrive Plant-Based on tonight, and we're picking her brains about all sorts of health advice and reasons behind going plant-based. So we've got to the point in the conversation where Vanessa has given us a number of reasons why it's good for us, or why she thinks it's good for us, and the research that she's done to kind of indicate that, the three main reasons. We are going to go into it in a bit more detail. And what I wanted to know from Vanessa, as someone who coaches people through the transition into a plant-based diet, what are the problems that people come to her with most of all?
A lot of people, I'm going to say unfortunately, come to me when they are over 40. And I say unfortunately because people are waiting a long time to get their health in check. They're suffering for years with gut issues, yo-yo dieting, instead of doing something about it at an early point. But I find one of the biggest issues people have is not eating in a truly balanced way. And when I say that, I mean, what is on your plate? You have some brilliant complex carbs. Now, complex carbs also feed our gut as well as give us energy, and carbs get very demonized. We need them, and no one can stick forever to a low-carb diet, which is testament to the fact
Tiring.
that it's not sustainable.
Yeah.
Were you going to say something about carbs?
I was just going to say I mean, the idea of not having carbohydrates makes me just want to wilt and go to sleep.
Yes, exactly. And people are also told, I thought I couldn't have potatoes. What's a sad thought? It's totally not true. So we need to make sure we've got our carbs. We want protein. So on a plant-based diet, or just even if you just want to get in more plant protein, and there's actually protein in all plants, but your highest sources will be things like your beans, your tofu, tempeh, edamame, mushrooms, peas. Getting this in as well, and you want to have lots of vegetables, lots of fruit, and also some whole fats. So you want to be having your olives, your avocado, your nuts. Those are all really, really good fats for you. And you also want to make sure you're eating enough. So lots of people will, when I look at what they're eating and they send me their photos, I think, no wonder you were hungry at 10 p.m. actually. There's hardly anything on your plate. And we're taught, well, to be good, I should really not have too much, should I? And then 10 p.m. comes around and it's straight down the shots to the ice cream and the cake. So that's one of the biggest problems people come to me with, or them thinking they need loads of snack recipes because they want snacks all the time. When, I really think it's a good idea that we all, whether you're thinking of going plant-based or not, because as we've discussed, getting more plants into your diet is essential, whatever diet you're on, is to really look at your meals and think, is this sustaining me? Is this balanced enough? Am I hungry a couple of hours later often? And if you are, you might need to relook at the balance on that plate.
I love the sound of that. Okay, so balancing the plate. We can look on your Instagram for some inspiration and recipes, actually.
Yes, you can. So my Instagram is Energize and Thrive Plant-Based. But you can also join my Facebook community where I've got loads of brilliant videos, recipes. My community is called How to Go Plant-Based. Now, despite the name, you do not have to be fully plant-based or ever go fully plant-based to be in this community. I'm
joining now.
Join it now. And it's only about food. So we don't talk really about anything else. So it's just great ideas, getting your health questions answered, figuring out how to get more brilliant foods into your diet. Because just remember that the soil is not quite where it was in our parents' generation. The soil is more and more depleted. We're not getting all the nutrients that we used to get. And actually, we sometimes do need to think a bit harder about what we eat to have optimal health.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. And it's only for us at the end of the day. I mean, people saying they're in too much of a rush to eat healthily are doing themselves no favours, are they? As we started off our chat, we've come full circle.
Yeah, absolutely. It's not helping you at all. And just remember that your health problems do not stay the same if you do nothing about them. They get worse. So
Oh,
if you've got
gosh.
bad gut issues and you're not doing something, they are going to be worse 10 years later. Your yo-yo dieting, your weight problems, more people as they get older. That's when the lifestyle diseases hit. It's when the type 2 diabetes, the heart disease, that's when that stuff starts to hit. So do something now. And if you're in those situations, again, do something now to help you and get more healthy. It's never, ever too late. I have people coming to me when they are 70 years old to get healthier. I promise it is never too late.
Very, very inspiring stuff, Vanessa. I'm convinced. Where do you stand on
Yes.
gluten, by the way?
Yeah. So a lot of the products that are causing people gut issues can be things like your white bread that's got all of the goodness stripped out. It's got the fiber stripped out. It's got other things added to it. And of course, there are people who are celiac, which means it really is dangerous for them to have gluten. And there might be, some people who are gluten intolerant, but gluten gets very demonized when actually there are a lot of brilliant grains that are full of fiber that feed your gut, that lower inflammation, that have gluten in. This includes things like rye, barley, bulgur wheat. These grains are really good for you. And actually, the people who are eating more of these grains have less inflammation. So what we want to be doing is heading more towards whole foods and less processed foods. So the gluten that you will get in those sorts of grains is going to be really good for you, or those grains themselves have got a lot of benefits to them. The worry about gluten is usually what it's in and those products not being so great, or the very refined carbs that we're getting that might have gluten in that could be causing issues. But yes, there are some people who are allergic, and it's important that they stay away from it. And there will be less people than we actually think who are intolerant, and it's other issues that are causing the problems.
Noted. I just wanted to ask about that because I don't know much about it, but a few people suggested I should cut it out if I want to be really gut friendly. But I haven't properly done it before, and I'm not sure it made a difference. Cutting out dairy made a massive difference to my life.
Yes, dairy is hugely inflammatory. It's full of hormones because most of the milk that you're drinking comes from pregnant cows, because cows need to stay pregnant to produce milk. Most of us are lactose intolerant, and that's because milk is designed to turn a baby into, a 3-year-old, or in the case of cow's milk, to turn a small calf into a massive cow in the space of a few months. So you're drinking something for growth, basically, and you're drinking a product that's not even meant for our species. So it does cause problems to us when we're having breast milk after weaning. So there's a huge thing with dairy. So absolutely loads of benefits of cutting that out. On the gluten front, as much as possible, it's these grains that are brilliant for us, like I mentioned, that might have gluten in, like the rye grain and the barley, full of fiber that feed our gut. So those will actually help lower inflammation and help the gut.
Well, I've written all that down, and I'm going to rewind and listen again. Vanessa, an absolutely brilliantly educational chat. Thank you so much. Will you come on again and we can pick it up where we left off?
Oh, 100%. I look forward to it.
See? The enthusiasm is infectious, isn't it? So Vanessa Sturman there from Energize and Thrive Plant-Based on Instagram, and her Facebook community is simply called How to Go Plant-Based. I'm in the community. I'm going to be picking it apart and having getting some advice there. So if it's something you've thought about and you don't quite know, that could be a good place to start. How to Go Plant-Based on Facebook. I'll see you in there. Thank you, Vanessa.
Everyone